Journal entry, July 12, 2400. Pleviara, 7. The rain started the moment I landed, and it hasn't stopped. Not even for a breath. Not even to sleep. It falls in a rhythm so constant, so unyielding, that I sometimes wonder if the planet itself is weeping. The sky is a dull sheet of gray, endless, motionless, suffocating. Rivers run where roads should be, and the trees don't reach for the sun. They sink their roots into waterlogged soil like they've given up trying. I wear a full-body hydrosuit every time I step outside. Not for protection, but for surrender. And yet, I volunteered for this. Trinidad is running dry, they said. Pleviara holds the answers. But no one told me how loud silence could be here, when all you hear is the endless hiss of falling rain. Sometimes, late at night, I think of Voyager 1. The lonely little spacecraft still drifting through interstellar darkness, more than 20 billion kilometers away from home. It's been flying for over 4 centuries now, alone. And I wonder, does it feel this silence too? Voyager carries a golden record, etched with Earth's laughter, music, rainstorms, and sunlight. Sunlight, that's what I miss most. Not the warmth, not the light, but the memory of it. The way it spilled through curtains in the morning. The way it turned dust into gold. Here on Pleviara, 7, there is no sun, just gray skies, and the weight of water pressing from above and below. If Voyager ever finds someone listening, I hope they'll understand the things we loved. The warmth, the sound of birds after rain, the light that made us believe there was always something more beyond the clouds. I wonder if I'll find any of that here, or if I'll just keep drifting, like Voyager, beneath an ocean of falling sky. Journal entry, July 13, 2400. My name is Rhea, and I am 58 years old. A hydrologist. A daughter of sunlit summers. A traveler in search of water. I volunteered for Pleviara, 7, when most turned away. Too bleak, they said. Too isolating. But isolation wasn't new to me. Not since the droughts worsened back on Earth. Not since I watched entire river basins crack open like dry skin, and children in refugee camps hold out empty cups beneath cloudless skies. We used to fear floods. Now, we pray for rain. When the mission called for someone to study this world of endless water, I thought, let me go? Let me find out why this planet weeps while ours forgets how. I knew it would be dark. I knew it would rain. But I didn't realize how much I'd missed the sun. Not the physical sun. I brought UV lamps, full-spectrum stimulators, everything protocol demanded. What I miss is the way sunlight made life feel possible. The way it brought color to pain, meaning to waiting. Some nights, I replay the old recording from Voyager's golden record. It has a track of blind Chuck Berry playing Johnny B. Good. He played it like he could see the light through his fingertips. That sound makes me feel less alone. Maybe that's what I came here for, not just the water, but to remember what light used to mean. Maybe I didn't come to save Earth. Maybe I came to remember it. Journal entry, July 14, 2400. I stepped out of the shuttle today. The rain greeted me like an old memory, familiar, but changed. It wasn't a gentle drizzle. It wasn't a storm either. It was something in between. Endless. Relentless. The kind of rain that doesn't ask permission. The kind that rewrites everything you thought you knew about gravity. It fell sideways, upward, in swirls. It slid down my visor, pooled beneath my boots, soaked through despite the suit. I looked up, and there was no sky. Just motion. Just wetness. Just wait. I walked through a clearing, though that word hardly fits a place with no sun. Around me, alien trees with sponge-like trunks swayed, not with wind, but with saturation. Their bark was like moss, breathing moisture. Amphibious creatures with translucent fins glided through the mist like ghosts, their bioluminescence pulsing with every splash. And then I saw them, the natives. Humanoid in form, but not in presence. Their skin glistened like waxed stone, their movements smooth and liquid. They walked barefoot through water as if it were memory. They didn't speak, not out loud. Their eyes flickered faint pulses of light, language made from photons. I didn't understand them. They didn't approach me. In that moment, I felt smaller than I ever had. Smaller than a whisper. Smaller than Voyager 1 hurtling silently through the dark. No one waved. No one smiled. Just the endless hush of rain that covered every sound like a shroud. I stood there, soaked in silence. And I missed Earth. Not just the people, or the sun, or the sky, but the familiar weight of being seen. Here, I felt like a relic. A message in a bottle never opened. A golden record floating through rain. Journal entry, July 15th, 2400. I closed my eyes today, just for a moment, and I remembered the sun. Not the blazing, overexposed ball they simulate in training pods, but the real thing. The soft spill of light through kitchen windows at 6 a.m. The way shadows stretch and yawn across wooden floors. The feeling of warmth that isn't heat, but home. I remembered lying in the grass with bare feet, watching clouds become dragons and castles. I remembered the sound of birds arguing in the trees and children laughing like wind chimes. I remembered closing my eyes and seeing orange behind my eyelids. That was sunlight. And on this planet of endless rain, I would trade every drop of water for just one golden ray of it. You don't realize how much light shapes memory until you try to remember without it. Even the colors in my mind are fading. The blue's less blue. The greens wash gray. Sometimes I wonder what Voyager saw before it turned back to take that photo. The pale blue dot. That fragile speck suspended in a sunbeam, barely visible. Earth. Home. Carl Sagan once said that everything we love, everyone we know, every memory we cherish, happened on that. But here, on Voyager 7, I can't see that. I can't even see the stars. Only clouds and water and the heavy breath of a planet that never learned to smile. I miss the sun, not just for the light it gave, but for the way it made my memories glow. Now, they flicker, like the last static from a fading signal, like the distant echo of a golden record tumbling through space, hoping someone, anyone, is still listening. Journal entry, July 16th, 2400. It was a Tuesday, the kind of Tuesday no one remembers. The news came quietly, barely a whisper between wars and weather alerts. Voyager 7's water stores confirmed viable for Earth importation. We were running out of time. Cities across the equator had gone dry. Desalination plants were collapsing under energy strain. Crops had turned to dust. I was 57, too old for space missions by some standards. Too tired, maybe, but not yet empty. They said we needed a hydrologist who could model fluid behaviors in hostile, atmospheric systems. I said, I'm still breathing. When they asked why I'd risk it, I didn't say data or duty. I said, because if Voyager 1 can still be out there, moving forward with no promise of return, maybe I can too. I remembered how, as a girl, I used to press my ear to old radios and search for static, imagining that somewhere in the hiss was Voyager's voice calling home. I wanted to be like that, to go where no sunlight reached, to send something back, even if no one answered. When I signed the consent papers, they had me record a statement for posterity. I looked into the camera, tried to smile, and said, water remembers. It carries stories. I'm going to listen. I didn't realize then that I'd be whispering into the rain for so long with no reply. But maybe that's part of the work. Maybe part of healing this Earth is learning to speak even when no one hears. Just like Voyager. Journal entry, July 17th, 2400. I almost asked to be recalled. Last night, the rain got inside my dreams. It wasn't violent. It just kept falling, smothering every sound, every word, until even my thoughts began to dissolve. I woke up gasping, drenched in my own fear, unsure whether I'd ever feel dry again. But this morning, something changed. I stepped outside, not to take readings, not to log data, just to be there. I stood beneath the sky, suit on, palms open, letting the rain hit me like a question I'd never dared to ask. And I listened, not with instruments, with memory. I remembered the hum of static from deep space antennas, the kind that scientists once tuned into, hoping, just hoping, that maybe Voyager 1 had said something new. It rarely did, but we listened anyway, because listening is how we say, we haven't given up. And maybe I could do the same here. Not fight the rain, not resent it, just listen. I've started charting small shifts in humidity density, bioluminescent behavior in native mosses, subaquatic signal pulses from cave springs. There's a rhythm emerging, a pattern. Maybe the rain isn't senseless. Maybe it's speaking. I think of Voyager often these days, not because I feel like it anymore, but because I admire it. It never asked for applause. It just kept moving forward, singing its golden lullaby into silence. Perhaps that's what I must do. Sing into the storm, and wait for something, anything, to sing back. Journal entry, July 18th, 2400. I'm learning how to walk differently. On Voyager 7, movement is negotiation. Every step is a conversation with water, soft, slow, deliberate. If you rush, the mud swallows you. If you hesitate, the rain blinds you. I've modified my hydro suit to include fine-toed stabilizers, mimicking the native gait, more of a glide than a step. My boots now ripple, not stomp. And I've stopped trying to shield myself completely from the wet. It's impossible and pointless. The rain doesn't hate me. It doesn't care. And that is oddly freeing. I've begun mapping small tributaries that shift daily, charting how bioluminescent moss responds to mineral saturation. The ecosystem is fragile, but ordered, alive with a kind of logic you feel more than see. There are creatures here I've only just begun to understand. Fish with wings that glide through mist, algae that shimmer to vibrations, clouds that flash low-frequency light in storm patterns. I've even learned to spot the difference between native weather systems and the more violent, tectonic-triggered deluges. I still miss the sun, but now, it's no longer the absence of light that frightens me. It's the idea that I might miss something beautiful, because I was too busy longing for what's gone. Voyager 1 never stopped for longing. It didn't turn back toward Earth after taking that photo of the pale blue dot. It kept going. And now, so do I. Journal entry, July 19th, 2400. There are moments, long, quiet moments, when I forget I'm human. Not in the way of madness. In the way of erasure. I move like the natives now. Soft, low steps through wet ground, slow gestures in dense air. I eat nutrient gel flavored with synthesized algae. I sleep to the sound of filtered rain through layered polymer. And still, I don't belong. The natives, those fluid-skinned, light-speaking beings, glide through this world like it was carved for them. Their pulses glow in patterns I can't decipher. Their silence is not empty, but layered with meaning I can't reach. I've tried. I've mirrored their posture, calibrated light to mimic their rhythms. I thought I saw one pause, once, its eyes flickering toward me. But then it moved on, as if I were static. I used to think silence was peace. But here, silence has shape. It excludes. I am surrounded by life, yet untouched by it. And in this moment, I think of Voyager again. That little machine, floating in a universe of wonders it could never be part of. It listens. It sends. It hopes. But it will never belong to the stars it passes. Maybe that's the most human thing we've ever made. A creature built to observe beauty, but never be accepted by it. That's how I feel tonight. Not broken, just extra, like a song on the wrong planet, like a whisper in a language no one here remembers how to hear. Journal entry, July 20th, 2400. A storm came today, not like the others. This one had no thunder, no drama, just more rain, more pressure. It was like the sky decided to press its full weight down, not in anger, but in indifference. The flood barriers around the research station gave way by midday. Water slid under the floor panels, climbed the walls, seeped into wiring. I lost 3 drones, 2 nutrient packs, all exterior comms. I'm alone now, completely. The hangar bay is sealed, but I don't know how long the seal will hold. The emergency beacon still pings, but I doubt it carries far in this density. I stood in the control room today, waist deep in rising water, and felt something crack inside me. I didn't scream. I didn't sob. I just went still. And in that stillness, I thought of Voyager 1. That silent traveler in space, still transmitting, even though no one may be listening. How many times did it encounter silence and keep going? I wondered, was it courage? Or just programming? Am I so different? I came here believing in science, in sacrifice, in hope. But now, knee-deep in cold silence, I can't tell if I'm persevering or just stalling. The muad doesn't answer. It just falls. I want to believe there's meaning in it. But tonight, it feels like a conversation I'm no longer invited to. I miss the sun. I miss voices. I miss the part of me that used to believe this pain had purpose. Maybe tomorrow I'll find it again. Maybe not. For now, like Voyager, I'll keep sending signals, even if the universe has stopped listening. Journal entry, July 21st, 2400. I wasn't looking for anything. I had stopped hoping to find. I was only walking. The rain had lessened, not stopped, never stopped, but softened, like a whisper rather than a scream. My boots squelched with each step, water sloshing inside. My breath fogged the inside of my visor. I felt like a ghost of myself. And then, in the distance, a light. At first, I thought it was a malfunction, some glitch in my retinal HUD. But no, it blinked again. Soft, rhythmic, blue-white. I followed. No path, no logic, just instinct. The signal led me through a thicket of glimmer-leafed vines, past a collapsed root structure, and into what looked like a cave mouth. Narrow, shielded, carved by time or intention. Inside dry, my boots stopped squelching. My lungs expanded fully. The silence was heavy, but it was a silence that allowed for breath. Then I saw them, tiny droplets suspended from the ceiling, glowing faintly like stars caught mid-fall. I stood still, unsure whether to cry or laugh. The droplets didn't move, didn't fall. They just shimmered in place, emitting a low-frequency hum I could almost feel in my bones. Like a lullaby, like a heartbeat slowed by relief. Maybe it was just phosphorescent condensation. Maybe it was an illusion brought on by fatigue. But it felt like something more. It felt like someone had made room for me. I thought of Voyager, drifting through space, passing nebulae and gravity wells, and then, one day, finding a silence that wasn't empty. A pocket of calm. A breath. I don't know what this place is yet, but I will stay for the night. And for the first time since I arrived on Voyager 7, I am not afraid of the dark. Journal entry, July 22nd, 2400. I didn't dream last night. I simply slept. For the first time since landing, my mind didn't fill the silence with phantom memories or drowning echoes. Just breath. Just stillness. And this morning, I sat in the cave, legs folded, palms open, and listened. The rain outside continued its steady hymn, muffled by stone. Inside, the droplets above still hovered like stars, glowing soft and slow. I opened my journal not to report findings, but to reflect. I once believed sunlight was a source of life, of joy, of meaning. But maybe it's a mirror, a reflection of something we carry inside. I've been waiting for the sun to return. But perhaps the real task was learning how to remember what it felt like and carry that warmth with me. Patience, they say, is a virtue. But here, patience is survival. It's resistance. It's an act of rebellion against despair. Voyager taught me that. A machine with no nervous system, no soul, and yet it embodied hope. Not because it would be heard, but because it believed it was worth trying. I came to Voyager 7 chasing water. But perhaps I was also chasing stillness. To learn what it means to wait. To listen. To send out a version of myself, like a golden message carved in silence, and trust it matters. Today, I feel the sun again. Not on my skin, but somewhere deeper. And in this wet, quiet cave at the edge of the universe. That is enough. Journal entry, July 23rd, 2400. The message came through last night. Static-laced, barely intact, but clear enough. Evacuation window reopens in 3 cycles. Decision required. Just like that. No judgment. No expectation. Just a choice. Come home now, or stay. I sat with it for hours. I replayed the message 5 times. I stared at the blinking light on the console, like it might blink differently the 6th. Outside, the rain fell as usual. Calm, ceaseless, unbothered. I walked back to the cave. I looked again at the glowing droplets. I ran my fingers along the moss-lined walls. I remembered why I came. Earth is still dying. They don't need me for comfort. They need data. They need answers. And I have them now, collected, processed, intact despite the storm. I could go back and hand it all over. But then, what would I be handing over? Water, numbers, readings, or would I be handing over something more? The proof that we can stay, that we can endure places that do not welcome us, that there is value in persistence, even when comfort is gone, that sometimes the sun is something you carry, not something you seek. I thought again of Voyager. For 100 years. Alone. Silent. Uncelebrated it. Still it sings. It didn't turn back. It didn't stop when it left the last planet behind. It just kept going. So will I? I've sent the data back. It's in the cloud now, bouncing off relays and satellites, traveling home faster than I ever could. But I'll stay. Just a little longer. Not because I must, but because I choose to. Like Voyager, I will continue forward, into silence, into mystery. Not for applause, but because there is meaning in staying. Journal entry, July 24th, 2400. It didn't begin with thunder, just a shift. a wrongness in the rhythm. The rain grew heavier, not louder, just heavier, like someone had poured a second ocean into the clouds. I looked up, and for the first time since I arrived, the sky moved. It twisted. Walls of water fell. Not drops, not sheets. Walls, solid and crashing like liquid architecture collapsing into chaos. I ran, not out of panic, but purpose. I had 23 seconds before my outpost would flood entirely. I knew the math. I just didn't know if my legs could keep up. The cave entrance vanished behind me in a blur of gray. I slipped twice, once hitting my shoulder, once nearly biting through my lip. The water rose past my knees in under a minute. Then my waist. Then my chest. The world narrowed into a war between breath and flood. I reached the lab module just as the ceiling gave way. One last push. One desperate slam of my hand on the emergency seal panel. The doors hissed shut behind me. Darkness. Then flickering lights. I collapsed against the wall, lungs on fire, hair plastered to my neck, suit torn at the seams. The storm outside screamed. And in that scream, I heard everything. The weight of a planet. The silence of home. The echo of Voyager's last pulse, still whispering across the void. Was this what it meant to persist? To choose to continue, even as everything collapsed around you. Not because it's safe, but because it's right? I don't remember how long I sat there. But when I stood up again, bruised, soaked, trembling, I realized something. I was still here. And so was the signal inside me. The one that kept saying, "Go on." Journal entry, July 25th, 2400. The lab was half flooded, but the core module still worked. I powered it on manually. No AI interface, no safety prompts. Just my hands, soaked and shaking, working from memory. My sample sensors had been destroyed. My external probes? Gone. But the internal flow monitor, model RX-7, analog backup, still blinked. Still listening. I attached the last collection pod I had, cracked, slightly warped, and ran it through the filtration channel that had just moments ago been my death trap. It came back glowing. Not figuratively. Literally. Microscopic bioluminescent microbes. Waterborne and stable. Highly reactive to atmospheric carbon. Self-replicating. Self-regulating. A biological filtration system. This wasn't just a water source. This was a planetary-scale, cleansing organism. Voyager-7 doesn't just provide water. It heals it. I ran test after test, breathless, drenched, heart pounding. Every result confirmed it. This was the breakthrough Earth had been waiting for. In the middle of a storm. In a half-submerged pod. In the loneliest place I'd ever stood. I found something alive that could save billions. And then I laughed. A short, sharp laugh. The kind that escapes when you realize you were never actually alone. I thought of Voyager again. Drifting. Waiting. Sending out the best parts of us. Hoping they would reach someone, somewhere. I realized now. I was Voyager. In this cave of circuitry and rain, I was transmitting. Not just data. Not just discovery. But proof. That perseverance is a language. That silence does not mean failure. That meaning survives. Even in the storm. Journal entry, July 26th, 2400. The storm passed sometime around midnight. I couldn't tell at first. The rain never truly stops here, but the fury softened. The chaos quieted. I opened the outer hatch this morning and stepped into a world that looked the same, but felt different. The air was warmer. The water calmer. The sky, while still gray, carried a strange translucence, like a veil pulled halfway back. I stood for a long while, letting the rain touch my bare face. No helmet. No shield. Just skin and sky. Then I turned and packed. Not because I was broken. Not because I'd failed. But because I'd finished. I downloaded the full data logs, encrypted them, and loaded them into the transmission capsule. I uploaded backup copies to orbital relays. Then I wrote a final message to command. Voyager-7 offers more than water. It offers wisdom. She tests you, not to break you, but to reveal you. We've been looking for solutions. Here's one. My evac shuttle arrived within the hour. As I lifted off, I looked back, through a fogged viewport, through kilometers of rainfall, and saw nothing. No landmarks. No lights. Just water. But I knew. I knew the cave was still there. I knew the glowing droplets were still suspended. I knew the microbes were still working. And somewhere inside that rain-drenched planet, a version of me would always remain. Patient. Listening. Still. I thought once more of Voyager. launched to drift forever, never to return, but full of meaning simply because we dared to send it. That's how I leave this world. Not empty, but full, with rain behind me and light ahead. Journal entry, July 28th, 2400. I'm back on the orbital station now. The walls here are dry. The air is filtered. The artificial gravity is calibrated to mimic Earth. But something inside me still sways, like I'm still walking through water. I sit beside the window sometimes, watching the curve of Voyager, 7 below, veiled in its endless silver storm. And I think about what I feared, about what I found, and about what the rain tried to tell me. I once thought struggle was something to survive through and leave behind. But now I think struggle is a teacher. The rain didn't stop, but I changed. I found patience not because I had no choice, but because I chose to stay. I learned that light is not always around you. Sometimes it's what you carry inside, a stubborn spark, a remembered warmth, a commitment to move forward even when the map runs out. Voyager 1 taught me that courage doesn't always look like noise and flames. Sometimes courage is silent and steady, a transmission that never stops, a belief that someone, somewhere, might hear. That was me. That still is me. I came looking for answers in rain. What I found was a mirror, and what I saw was enough. Journal entry, July 29th, 2400. If someone finds this journal, whether tomorrow or a century from now, I hope you'll understand. Voyager 7 isn't just a planet. It's a question. One that whispers, not yells. One that asks, can you wait long enough to listen? You won't see beauty right away. There are no sunsets here. No golden skies or glowing moons. Just rain. But if you stay, if you wait, you'll find a light that doesn't shine, but hums. A stillness that doesn't silence you, but invites you inward. I think about those glowing droplets in the cave. How they hovered. How they never fell. I carry them now. In memory. Just like we carry Voyager. Still out there, still humming, still drifting through silence. Not because it hopes to be heard, but because it believes someone might be listening. I am listening. To Voyager. To the echo of my own voice. To the lesson that rain and space and loneliness all teach in their own way. That presence is meaning, and staying is love. I will not forget this world. And if you go there one day, I hope it will remember you too. Journal entry. Final. So now I ask you, not as a scientist, not as an explorer, but as someone who stood still long enough for silence to speak. Could you live on a planet where it never stops raining? Not just survive, but stay. Could you listen, day after day, to the same rhythm falling from the sky, knowing it may never end, and still choose to hope? Could you find light, not in the sky, but in the way your heart keeps pulsing against all odds? Could you become Voyager, not because you were built for it, but because you chose to be the message, even if no one answers? I did, and I believe you can too. Rain will fall, silence will come, but if you wait, truly wait, you might find that the most beautiful light is the one you refuse to let go of. Would you stay, or would you return, before the sky had a chance to remember your name?